Chances are it was one of the topics of conversation around the office today. Did you feel the earthquake Saturday?
Well, about the rocks, they've been pushed together really tight, thousands of feet under the earth for millions of years. Sometimes they just need a little release.
The rocks behave like springs, very stiff springs.
A sudden surge of seismic activity beneath the surface of Michigan's Upper Peninsula sent shockwaves, both literal and figurative, through scientific communities and government agencies when the United States Geological Survey (USGS) issued a rare and alarming red alert. The urgency of the situation was driven not only by the strength and frequency of underground tremors, but by a string of bizarre, inexplicable anomalies discovered during an ongoing investigation into regional geology. What was first believed to be a routine seismic fluctuation quickly evolved into something far more mysterious and potentially consequential, prompting an unprecedented level of concern. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Michigan, a state not commonly associated with earthquake threats, became the center of a rapidly escalating situation. The red alert indicated a potential geological event that could result in significant surface disruption, infrastructure damage, and even environmental consequences. The USGS, known for its cautious and data-driven approach, only declares red alerts under conditions of severe threat. When such a warning is issued in an area generally perceived as geologically stable, it suggests that something entirely outside the norm is occurring beneath the ground. The initial signs were subtle but persistent. Unusual microquakes were picked up by sensors across the Great Lakes region, and their epicenters clustered around a previously unremarkable section of Precambrian bedrock near the shores of Lake Superior. The depth of these quakes varied dramatically, some originating near the crust-mantle boundary and others occurring just kilometers below the surface. This stratified pattern suggested a vertical disturbance of a kind rarely seen in continental interiors. Seismologists initially suspected a possible fault reactivation, but the readings didn't align with known fault lines. Then came the magnetic anomalies. Aircraft and satellite measurements detected significant deviations in the Earth's magnetic field in proximity to the seismic hotspots. The distortion wasn't just a fluctuation. It showed characteristics of deep subsurface magnetic materials shifting in ways that didn't conform to expected geophysical models. These magnetic shifts were strong enough to interfere with local GPS navigation and communication systems, raising concerns that something metallic, or something with magnetic properties, was moving or being unearthed underground. Geologists and geophysicists swarmed into the region with advanced ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scans, and deep seismic imaging equipment. Their goal was to understand what was happening beneath the surface before the situation escalated. What they found stunned even the most seasoned experts. Buried beneath layers of glacial till and sedimentary rock, they detected massive geometric structures, perfectly angled formations that didn't match natural geological patterns. These formations spanned several miles and exhibited symmetry and density more consistent with manufactured materials than with naturally occurring rock formations. As more data poured in, the situation gained a new layer of complexity. Chemical analyses of displaced soil samples revealed trace elements and isotopes not commonly found in the area, including rare earth metals and unusual crystalline compounds that bore no resemblance to the region's typical mineralogy. Some of these compounds had properties that defied conventional understanding, materials with both high magnetic permeability and electrical conductivity. There was no known industrial or natural process in the region's history that could account for their presence, particularly at such depths. The discovery sent shockwaves through scientific institutions. The implications of vast, unnatural structures buried beneath Michigan could not be ignored. Were these the remnants of an ancient civilization lost to history, or the result of some long-forgotten military experiment buried and erased from the public record? Or were they something altogether more foreign? An explanation that stretched beyond even the boldest fringe hypotheses? As seismic readings intensified, the surrounding areas began to show subtle surface changes. Trees near the epicenters leaned in unnatural directions. Small fissures appeared in remote forest floors, and animals in the area began displaying erratic behaviors. Deer herds changed their migratory routes. Birds avoided certain air corridors. and local fish populations dropped precipitously in nearby lakes and rivers. While such phenomena could have plausible environmental explanations, their coincidence with the underground activity and strange discoveries made them part of an increasingly eerie puzzle. Adding to the mystery, local residents began reporting disturbing phenomena, low-frequency hums at night, strange lights in the sky, and sudden disruptions in electronic devices became frequent topics of discussion in the rural communities surrounding the red alert zone. Some even spoke of feelings of disorientation or nausea while driving through certain stretches of highway, areas that coincided with the highest magnetic readings. While the USGS remained focused on monitoring seismic and geophysical data, other federal agencies started to take a keen interest in the site. Mobile command centers appeared near remote access roads, and a high level of coordination began between geological scientists, military observers, and even aerospace specialists. The presence of so many divergent experts suggested that the discoveries beneath Michigan may not be purely geological. Their cooperation hinted at a scenario in which the implications extended beyond the surface and into the very understanding of what lies beneath the crust. Even more perplexing was a strange feedback loop detected between the magnetic anomalies and atmospheric conditions. Meteorological stations in the area began recording abrupt shifts in local weather patterns. Cloud formations moved in erratic paths, and sudden microbursts of cold air descended into the red alert zone. These were not forecastable events, and the meteorological models struggled to accommodate them. Some scientists hypothesized that the unusual materials underground could be interacting with the atmosphere through electromagnetic coupling, though that notion remained speculative at best. As time passed and deeper scans were taken, researchers noted increasing energy readings emanating from the subsurface structures. These weren't typical geothermal heat spikes or electromagnetic pulses. Instead, they pulsed rhythmically, at intervals that matched neither tectonic stress nor any known natural process. The signals raised the possibility that whatever was buried beneath Michigan might not be inert. Whether this implied some form of artificial energy generation, a geophysical anomaly, or something more speculative was still under intense study. Pressure mounted to excavate, but the depth and hardness of the formations made that process both dangerous and time-consuming. Moreover, the presence of volatile magnetic and seismic activity made any aggressive digging a high-risk proposition. Each attempt to breach closer to the formation's perimeter was met with increased seismic tremors and amplified magnetic disruption. Some researchers speculated that the structures might have reactive properties, possibly even defensive ones, which pushed the conversation far outside the norms of conventional science. Satellite data also began to show an unexpected correlation. Slight shifts in gravity measurements above the anomaly. The Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. GRACE satellites, typically used to measure groundwater and ice loss, detected localized gravitational fluctuations that suggested mass redistribution underground. In simpler terms, something was moving, or awakening, beneath Michigan. The idea that these structures could be mobile, even slightly, introduced a disturbing possibility. They were not just passive ruins or buried materials, but something potentially dynamic. Amidst the gathering storm of unanswered questions, the scientific community became divided. Some believed the anomalies could be explained by extremely rare geological conditions, the result of deep Earth dynamics heretofore undocumented. Others leaned toward more extraordinary explanations, proposing hypotheses ranging from long-buried ancient technology to alien intervention. While those latter suggestions remained outside the mainstream, the simple fact that credible scientists were even entertaining them indicated just how far outside the boundaries of normalcy this situation had ventured. Despite the growing alarm, access to the affected area became increasingly restricted. Roads were blocked off under the pretext of environmental protection and seismic safety, but satellite images revealed significant vehicular activity and infrastructure development, likely temporary facilities being constructed near key anomaly sites. The silence from official channels only added to public speculation, but the red alert issued by the USGS served as a rare confirmation that this was no fabrication. Something urgent and potentially perilous was unfolding in real time. Radio observatories monitoring deep space signals also reported strange interference in the region's skies. Some instruments recorded brief, unexplainable bursts of radiation not in the visible spectrum. These signals, fleeting and difficult to triangulate, bore no signature of known terrestrial origin. Whether they were related to the underground anomaly remained inconclusive, but they occurred with enough frequency to raise eyebrows. Some even questioned whether these bursts were not emissions at all, but reflections, signals bouncing off something embedded deep beneath the crust. The unusual nature of the event made it an anomaly of anomalies. It wasn't just a geological event, or a magnetic event, or a seismic disturbance. It was all of them, overlaid in a pattern of interaction that defied conventional understanding. There was no single theory that could neatly explain the scope of what was happening. Every new piece of data only deepened the mystery, forming a layered mosaic of scientific puzzles with potentially historic implications. As field teams continued their research, an even more chilling discovery was made. Carved deep into one of the detected subterranean formations were perfectly circular tunnels, tens of meters in diameter, spiraling downward in fractal patterns. The mineral content of the tunnel walls showed signs of exposure to temperatures and pressures far beyond those naturally occurring at their depth. In short, something had either built or bored through the Earth with capabilities that eclipsed current technological limits. Whether this indicated a presence long past or one still active was the question on every mind and the reason behind the elevated security around the site. With the red alert still active, a sense of suspense hung over the entire region. Every moment felt like a countdown, though no one could say to what. The people of Michigan's Upper Peninsula carried on with daily life as best they could, unaware of or deliberately ignoring the extraordinary developments unfolding just beneath their feet. But in the hushed halls of scientific institutions and secretive government chambers, eyes remained fixed on Michigan, watching for the next tremor, the next signal, or the next revelation that could change everything humanity thought it knew about the Earth and what lies within it. As the red alert held firm over Michigan's Upper Peninsula, a new chapter of the mystery began to unfold, not underground but in the skies above. High-altitude surveillance balloons and specialized reconnaissance drones were deployed above the alert zone, carrying instruments typically reserved for deep space missions, gamma-ray spectrometers, hyperspectral cameras, and cosmic radiation detectors. The decision to monitor from the upper atmosphere was no longer just precautionary. It had become essential. Scientists were trying to understand whether whatever was stirring beneath the surface was influencing more than just the Earth itself. What these high-altitude instruments detected was startling, faint but persistent pulses of radiation, rhythmic and structured, unlike any naturally occurring background noise. The pattern was repetitive and consistent, almost algorithmic. It wasn't strong enough to be harmful to humans, but it was distinct, and it was unmistakably coming from a single fixed point directly aligned with the largest of the underground anomalies. Even more curious was that the radiation was modulated, oscillating in a range that suggested not just natural emission, but potentially deliberate output. If the source was a decaying material, its emissions would be more random. But this was precise, like a transmission. The implications sent tremors through the astrophysics teams brought in to analyze the data. Was this a beacon? If so, to whom or what was it calling? Far from being brushed aside as coincidence, this signal became a focal point. Agencies known for space research and intelligence gathering increased their involvement, quietly bringing in linguists, cryptographers, and even theoretical physicists. The presence of such experts revealed a deeper undercurrent. Some authorities believed the pulses could be a message, possibly one meant for entities beyond Earth. Simultaneously, another team uncovered a gravitational peculiarity. The anomaly was subtly altering the local space-time curvature. This distortion was minute, but it was measurable, especially using LIGO-style interferometry adapted for terrestrial deployment. Time itself seemed to stretch ever so slightly within a narrow radius around the central anomaly, enough that atomic clocks stationed around the perimeter desynchronized by fractions of nanoseconds. Such warping of spacetime is not only rare, it's typically associated with extreme phenomena, like black holes or massive neutron stars, not sedimentary rock formations under a Midwestern state. These discoveries introduce terrifying and exhilarating possibilities. Were the underground structures a kind of dormant technology, capable of manipulating fundamental forces? If so, what was their purpose? Why here? And why now? No less confounding was the discovery of acoustic resonance deep underground. Subsonic vibrations, completely undetectable to the human ear, were being emitted in complex harmonic patterns. Acoustic engineers began referring to it as a song, a near-constant, low-frequency hum that modulated with changes in environmental conditions above ground. Fascinatingly, these sounds interacted with the magnetic field fluctuations in a way that amplified or dampened their intensity, implying a connected mechanism. Despite increasing levels of scientific scrutiny, no one could agree on the origin of these phenomena. Some proposed that the anomaly was a relic of a pre-human civilization that had achieved unimaginable technological sophistication. Others argued it could be a relic from Earth's deep time, a natural but exotic geological formation finally becoming unstable due to tectonic drift or other planetary processes. But fringe theorists, gaining quiet attention even in serious circles, proposed something even more extraordinary. The anomaly was not of this Earth. That theory, once relegated to the realm of science fiction, gained traction not because it was plausible, but because all terrestrial explanations were falling short. Complicating matters further, reports from surrounding regions began to increase in both volume and strangeness. Pilots flying commercial and private aircraft over the red alert zone began reporting sudden, unexplained avionics failures when passing directly over the epicenter. Instruments would go dead for seconds at a time, and onboard compasses would spin uncontrollably before suddenly stabilizing. This electromagnetic disruption extended to satellites briefly blinking out of communication or transmitting garbled data as they passed overhead. Meanwhile, beneath the Earth, a series of synchronized tremors began occurring at intervals too regular to be natural. Every 108 minutes, a small seismic event, a tremor just strong enough to register but not enough to cause damage, would ripple out from the epicenter. These weren't aftershocks. They were initiations, deliberate in spacing and consistent in magnitude. Geological models could not account for such regularity without invoking external mechanisms. Some scientists began postulating that the pulses were linked to a countdown or a calibration of some hidden process underway. The political ramifications were swift and quiet. International scientists who had initially been invited to collaborate on the anomalies study were gradually removed from the project. Travel to the area became even more restricted, with flyovers strictly prohibited, and local media issued blanket statements urging calm and cooperation. Journalists who attempted to get close were detained or redirected, and vague but firm warnings about national security began to accompany all public discussions. Whatever had been found was no longer purely a scientific curiosity. It had become a matter of control, containment, and possibly defense. Adding another layer of enigma was a strange biological phenomenon. Certain plant species growing within the affected zone began exhibiting accelerated growth cycles, blooming weeks ahead of schedule and producing flowers with unusual pigmentation patterns. Botanists discovered that some of these mutations carried altered DNA sequences, suggesting either mutagenic influence from the anomaly or a form of directed adaptation. The soil itself had changed in pH and microbial diversity, indicating a biochemical interaction from the subsurface structures. Moreover, a new form of fungi was identified clinging to the roots of trees along the disturbance boundary. These fungi, previously undocumented, exhibited bioluminescent properties when exposed to specific frequencies of sound, particularly those matching the subsonic resonance detected beneath the anomaly. This hinted at a potential biological interface with the geophysical activity, as if life itself was responding to signals emanating from the ground. Despite efforts to keep the situation quiet, whispers leaked into global scientific circles. Debate erupted across classified forums and encrypted academic channels. Theories were exchanged with increasing boldness. Was this a dormant system reactivating after millennia of silence? Could Earth itself harbor buried systems we were never meant to find? Or was it a warning, a relic left behind not for us but to protect against something else? Public awareness, while still low, began to simmer. Online conspiracy forums latched onto vague references in declassified documents and poorly redacted government communiques. A few intrepid researchers posted satellite images showing strange heat signatures and construction activity in what should have been untouched forest land. These posts were quickly removed or flagged for disinformation, but not before sparking viral speculation. The narrative emerging among underground circles was simple. Something ancient had been disturbed, and governments were racing to understand it before it awakened or acted. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the USGS red alert in Michigan? What do you expect next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.